I'm not saying, oh, like, don't buy an electric vehicle. Just be mindful. Like, you might not be that much better than the person driving a petrol car. Hello, welcome to Materials and Me. Materials being study of stuff and me being eerie. Happy summer to those that are on summer holiday. I am not. But if you are, they say rejoice with those who rejoice. So yeah, I'm happy for you. But anyways, yeah, now I'm on this new thing where I don't want to talk too much. I'm trying to be a woman of few words. So I want to make my words count. All right. All right. I've already said too much. I just came here to just ask everybody to keep recycling. Obviously, keep recycling plastic. It takes way too long to degrade. And so please, let's keep recycling plastic. I'm just here to say, let's not only place blame on, the plastic industry. When we think of like materials that are bad for the environment, everybody's like, yeah, plastic's such a problem, is destroying the ocean, in terms of like, wildlife, I be ocean life, coral reef, all of that. But I think we need to consider the fact that plastic, that's one material. We make a lot of things. And so I think we should also consider, don't hate me, also consider other materials. And what has sort of like inspired this is the fact that my project, my master's project, sheds light on a material that we all know and love. Actually, let me not speak for anybody. You people may not love it, but you can't live without it. And this material is called, drumroll please, steel. I was shocked to discover that the steel industry, not just in the UK, like this is the global like steel production value, it's responsible for about 8% of the CO2 emissions we have. And that's like if you count every single thing that releases CO2, the steel industry is responsible for 8%. I think that's crazy. But anyway, so my project is looking at making steel in a more sustainable manner. Before steel becomes steel, I hope we all know that it starts with iron and then iron as an Fe, the element, and then we add more stuff to it, mainly carbon. How the iron ore is processed to become ore, sorry, iron, is that we use a blast furnace. Okay, so this is not an accurate picture, but basically it's very hot and we end up making gases we don't want to make. And even though human beings are walking around breathing out CO2, this is worse because we basically end up making double the amount of carbon dioxide. So blast furnace energy intensive and it's also releasing CO2. And there are many different techniques people are coming up with, what would be better to produce steel, like green steel. The one I'm looking at is low temperature electrolysis. But I've rambled on a lot just to say that there's other materials that are not doing great things in terms of our CO2 emissions and global warming and climate change. And so, yes, plastic is a problem, but let's not be so myopic. I like that word. We need to make sure to consider how we can reduce emissions in other industries. What also has inspired this conversation is I think a lot of the times when people mention like, oil and gas is like almost a trigger word now actually in like what at least the people that I am usually around is like oil and gas is the devil, blah blah blah. And I was actually with some of my classmates, we were talking about I think chemical engineering and somebody being like, oh, they make a lot of money because obviously a lot of them work in oil and gas. And it's like, oh yeah, but you're basically working in blood money. And I was like, that's a bit harsh. Just because we know that we still need oil and gas because we haven't gotten other energy sources to the level that they need to be. And so while we still need oil and gas, let's not be so harsh. Especially since I think even the more sustainable technology we're developing, there's still a lot of like things we need to figure out. So I pointed out that like at the end of the day, you could argue that I don't know, a company like Tesla working for them would be like working in blood money and the person looked confused and it was just the whole thing of like at the end of the day lithium ion batteries which like is used in most electric vehicles, the whole issue of sourcing lithium and cobalt and the ethics behind that because for example like a lot of the world's cobalts or that are used in our tech comes from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and this is the law of artisanal mining. So like people are using their hands to do it. And we're all guilty because as long as you have a smartphone, there's some of it in there. Nobody's without fault. And so I was just trying to say that at the end of the day, like every industry has their issues, and even with EVs, like they still haven't figured out how to recycle the batteries in the best way possible. Maybe I haven't found, but there doesn't actually seem to be enough stats on like how much better is an electric vehicle as opposed to a petrol powered vehicle, like in the long run. Because I feel like we look at the fact that EVs don't emit carbon dioxide, but the production process, making the electric vehicle, and then the recycling process after of the parts of the lack thereof, compared to the production of a normal car, how much better is the EV option? This is just me thinking out loud now. I actually haven't looked at any numbers. I think we just need to be conscious of the fact that unless an industry or a company, let's even go a bit more minuscule, unless they've shown that they have a closed cycle, like a good circular economy of their products, everybody's as bad as the next person. I think the industries that even are doing, recycling the best and like putting it back and starting again is the glass industry and also aluminium. Obviously, different materials have different difficulty levels when it comes to recycling, and depending on what you need them for, how much impurities will affect, the efficiency of the application you want to use it for. But just be mindful. Be mindful, be thoughtful, stay curious, and don't be afraid to buy a plastic bottle. If you recycle it, it'll be fine. And I'm hoping I gave you enough things to think about. I hope I have left you with questions, either to ask me in the comments or to ask yourself or to ask Google, because Google is your friend, Joe. But I really just wanted to be like, hey, all this hate on plastic. There's other things to hate. And even when you get to the stage of hating those other things, I'm trying to say don't hate them so much because we need them at the end of the day. But, anyways, if you've made it to this point of the video, God bless you. Thank you for staying. Um, Good on you. Good on me. Let's keep doing this. Enjoy the summer. Wear sunscreen. Drink water. Either from a plastic bottle that you will recycle or from your own bottle that you bought that's probably made of steel. Bye.